For decades, the members of the Galactic Council had watched with a mixture of disdain and apprehension as the upstart species known as humans had slowly, but surely, expanded their presence among the stars. What had once been a primitive, divided civilization was now a formidable interstellar power, its colonies and trading outposts dotting the galactic landscape. The Council's initial strategy had been one of benign neglect, a tacit acknowledgement that the humans, while troublesome, were ultimately insignificant in the grand scheme of the cosmos. But as humanity's technological prowess grew, and their influence began to rival that of the Council's own member species, the tide of opinion started to turn. Voices of dissent grew louder, calling for a more proactive approach to the human problem. There were concerns that the humans, with their boundless ambition and disregard for established galactic order, posed a grave threat to the delicate balance of power. What if they continued to expand, challenging the Council's authority and disrupting the fragile web of alliances that held the galaxy together? It was these fears that had given rise to the new faction, led by the ruthless and cunning Chancellor Xyloth. A veteran of countless political battles, Xyloth had honed his skills in the cutthroat world of Galactic Council diplomacy, and he knew exactly how to manipulate the fears and insecurities of his fellow counselors. Xyloth's first move was to commission a comprehensive intelligence report on the state of human civilization. The findings were unsettling. Humanity had made remarkable strides in fields ranging from interstellar propulsion to advanced weaponry. Their population was exploding, their colonies spreading like a vast, green and blue contagion across the galactic map. And perhaps most worryingly, their political and social structures seemed to be coalescing into a unified, centralized authority, one that could potentially challenge the Council's dominance. Armed with this damning intelligence, Xyloth set about systematically eroding the resistance within the Council. He painted a dire picture of a future in which humanity, unchecked, would rise to challenge the very foundations of the galactic order. The other counselors, already predisposed to suspicion and xenophobia, were receptive to his warnings. It was a masterful political maneuver, one that would have far-reaching consequences for the people of Earth. As the debates within the Council raged on, Xyloth worked tirelessly to build a coalition of support. He leveraged old alliances, forged new ones, and ruthlessly quashed any dissent or opposition. Slowly but surely, the scales began to tip in his favor. Then, in a dramatic session of the full Council, Xyloth made his move. Standing before his fellow representatives, his eyes burning with a fanatical intensity, he delivered a rousing speech that would echo through the annals of galactic history. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice booming with authority, "for too long, we have allowed the human scourge to fester, unchecked, in the darkest corners of our domain. They have grown bold, encroaching upon our rightful territories, disrupting the delicate balance that has sustained our civilization for millennia." He paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing with even greater fervor. "But no more. The time has come for us to take decisive action, to rid ourselves of this threat once and for all. We must not hesitate, must not waver in the face of their primitive defiance. For the sake of our future, for the sake of the galaxy itself, we must act." The chamber erupted in a chorus of shouts and applause as the other counselors, swayed by Xyloth's impassioned rhetoric, rose to their feet in a show of support. The die had been cast. The Galactic Council was now united in its determination to subjugate the human race. In the days that followed, the machinery of war was set in motion. Fleets of warships were assembled, their crews trained and readied for the impending confrontation. Xyloth, his once fractious coalition now firmly in control, oversaw every aspect of the campaign with an iron fist, brooking no dissent and tolerating no delays. The people of Earth, of course, remained blissfully unaware of the storm that was gathering on the horizon. Their focus remained firmly on the challenges and opportunities of their own expanding presence among the stars. The establishment of new colonies, the forging of diplomatic ties with alien civilizations, the continued advancement of their technological capabilities. Little did they know that in the depths of space, a juggernaut was stirring, its sights set firmly upon their home world. As the final preparations for the invasion were completed, Tyloth summoned his most trusted advisors to the council's inner sanctum. The chamber was dimly lit, its walls adorned with the symbols and banners of the Galactic Council's member species, a testament to the might and influence of the organization. "The time has come," Tyloth announced, his voice cutting through the hushed silence like a razor. "Our armada is ready, our troops poised for the assault. Soon, the human menace will be eradicated, and the Galactic Council will stand supreme, its authority unquestioned." One of the advisors, a green-skinned alien with a cautious demeanor, cleared his throat before speaking. "Chancellor, I must express my reservations about this course of action. The humans have proven to be a resilient and resourceful species. What if they mount an unexpected defense? The cost in lives and resources could be catastrophic." Xyloth's eyes narrowed, his lips curling into a cold, mirthless smile. "Ah, my friend, your concerns are duly noted. But you underestimate the full extent of our preparations. We have anticipated every possible contingency, leaving nothing to chance. The humans will be crushed, their civilization reduced to ashes, and the galaxy will finally know peace once more." The advisor nodded, though the worry in his eyes was evident. "As you wish, Chancellor. I pray that your confidence is not misplaced." Tyloth raised a hand, silencing any further dissent. "It is not confidence, but certainty. The die has been cast, and there can be no turning back. Tomorrow, we march on Earth, and the universe will tremble at the might of the Galactic Council." The chamber erupted in thunderous applause, the counselors and advisors alike raising their voices in a roar of triumph. But amidst the celebration, a single nagging question lingered in the air. Had they truly accounted for the sheer resilience and ingenuity of the human race? The news of the Galactic Council's impending invasion spread like wildfire through the halls of power on Earth, sparking a frantic scramble among the world's leaders. Hastily convened emergency sessions saw government officials from every corner of the globe debating the best course of action, each side offering a vastly different perspective on how to confront this unprecedented threat. In the towering citadels of Washington, D.C., the Joint Chiefs of Staff argued passionately for a show of military force. "We must stand firm against these alien invaders," barked the grizzled, four-star general at the head of the table, pounding his fist for emphasis. "Our armed forces are the most powerful in the history of our planet. We cannot allow them to be cowed by some space tyrants." Across the Atlantic, in the marble-clad corridors of the European Union headquarters in Brussels, a more cautious approach was advocated. "We must not act rashly," cautioned the soft-spoken diplomat, her brow furrowed with worry. "Provoking a conflict with this Galactic Council could have devastating consequences. Perhaps there is still room for diplomacy, for negotiation." The debates raged on, with each side passionately defending their position. But as the news of the alien armada's rapid approach began to filter in, it became painfully clear that time was not on humanity's side. Reports from deep space monitoring stations painted a grim picture. The Council's warships, numbering in the thousands, were hurtling towards Earth at staggering velocities, their massive hulls bristling with enough firepower to reduce entire cities to smoldering ruins. And behind them, the ominous silhouettes of troop transports and supply vessels suggested an invasion force of unimaginable scale. Faced with this stark reality, the leaders of Earth found themselves at an impasse. Diplomacy seemed futile, the alien invaders unwilling to heed any calls for peace or negotiation. And while the combined military might of the planet's armed forces was formidable, the sheer scale of the Galactic Council's onslaught threatened to overwhelm even the most stalwart defenses. It was in the midst of this growing despair that a new voice emerged, a maverick thinker whose radical proposal would ultimately shape the course of humanity's destiny. His name was Dr. Ezra Sinclair, a brilliant theoretical physicist whose work on quantum entanglement and subspace manipulation had earned him both acclaim and notoriety within the scientific community. Summoned to an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council, Sinclair stood before the assembled dignitaries, his eyes alight with a fierce determination. "Esteemed members of the Security Council," he began, his voice calm and measured, "I understand the temptation to meet this alien invasion with the full force of our military might. But I would urge you to consider a different approach, one that leverages the very nature of our planet and our species to our advantage." The council members exchanged puzzled glances, their brows furrowed with skepticism. Sinclair pressed on, undaunted. "You see, the Galactic Council views us as a primitive, fragmented civilization, an easy target for subjugation. But what they fail to understand is the incredible resilience and adaptability of the human spirit. We are not a people who cower in the face of adversity. We are a people who rise to meet any challenge, no matter how daunting." He paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. "And so, I propose that we do not meet the Galactic Council's invasion with a show of force, but rather with a strategic withdrawal. Let them come to our planet. Let them attempt to assert their dominance. But when they arrive, they will find no target to conquer, no civilization to subjugate." The council members stirred, murmurs of confusion and disbelief rippling through the chamber. Sinclair held up a hand, silencing the din. "You see, my colleagues, we have the means to make ourselves disappear, to remove the human presence from Earth entirely, leaving the invaders with nothing but an empty, desolate planet. And when they realize that their grand conquest has been nothing more than a futile exercise, we will emerge from our hiding places, whole and unharmed, to reclaim our rightful place in the galaxy." The silence that followed was deafening, as the world leaders struggled to process the audacity of Sinclair's proposal. Finally, a grizzled general from the back of the room spoke up, his voice dripping with skepticism. "You're telling me that we should simply abandon our planet, allow these alien tyrants to march in unchallenged? And then what, Doctor? Wait for them to leave before we come back out of the shadows?" Sinclair nodded, unfazed by the general's obvious disdain. "Precisely. It may seem unorthodox, even cowardly, but I assure you it is anything but. By denying the Galactic Council their conquest, we assert our dominance in the most powerful way possible, through sheer, uncompromising defiance." The general opened his mouth to retort, but before he could speak, the United Nations Secretary-General raised a hand, silencing the room. "Dr. Sinclair, your proposal is certainly unconventional. But given the gravity of our situation, I believe we must at least consider it. Time is not on our side, and we cannot afford to dismiss any viable option, no matter how radical it may seem." He turned to face the assembled council members, his expression grave. "I will put this matter to a vote. All those in favor of implementing Dr. Sinclair's plan, please signify so now." Slowly, hesitantly at first, hands began to rise around the table. The general scowled, his own hand remaining firmly at his side. But he was outnumbered. One by one, the world's leaders committed themselves to Sinclair's audacious gambit, their faces etched with a mixture of trepidation and grim determination. As the vote concluded, the Secretary-General let out a weary sigh. "Very well. The motion passes. We shall implement Dr. Sinclair's plan, and pray that it is enough to deter the Galactic Council's invasion." Sinclair allowed himself a small, triumphant smile. "It will be enough," he said, his voice brimming with confidence. "Humanity has faced impossible odds before, and we have always prevailed. This time will be no different." With that, the die was cast. The leaders of Earth had made their choice, and now the fate of their world, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. As the towering alien warships drew ever closer to Earth, a palpable tension gripped the populace. Across the globe, citizens huddled around television and radio sets, their eyes glued to the breaking news coverage. Some wept openly, overcome by a sense of impending doom, while others clung to a flickering hope that their leaders had a plan to stave off the impending invasion. But as the Galactic Council's armada breached the outer limits of the solar system, something entirely unexpected occurred. Instead of the anticipated barrage of weapons fire and desperate pleas for surrender, a simple, defiant message was broadcast from the world's capitals, echoing across the vastness of space. Run. The words, stark and unyielding, hung in the ether, seeming to reverberate within the very fabric of reality. The Galactic Council's fleet, having anticipated a violent confrontation, found itself momentarily paralyzed, its commanders unsure of how to respond to this bizarre and unsettling development. Within the Council's central command, Chancellor Xyloth's face contorted with rage, his knuckles whitening as he gripped the arms of his throne. "What is the meaning of this?" he snarled, his eyes burning with undisguised fury. "Have the humans surrendered so quickly? Fools! They will learn the true cost of defying the might of the Galactic Council." But as the seconds ticked by, and no further response came from the planet below, Xyloth's anger began to give way to a creeping sense of unease. His trusted advisors exchanged uneasy glances, the silence in the chamber growing increasingly palpable. Finally, one of the younger counselors, her voice trembling slightly, spoke up. "Chancellor, I do not believe the humans have surrendered. Their message seems to be a dare of sorts, as if they are daring us to invade." Xyloth's eyes narrowed to slits, his lips curling into a menacing scowl. "A dare, you say? Well then, we shall not disappoint them." He turned to the fleet commander, his voice dripping with malice. "Order the ships to commence bombardment immediately. Level their cities, their infrastructure, their very civilization to the ground. Show these upstart humans the true price of their insolence." The fleet commander hesitated, his expression troubled. "But, Chancellor, should we not attempt to make contact, to demand their surrender? Destroying their cities without provocation may be seen as an act-off. I will hear no more of your cowardly objections." Xyloth roared, slamming his fist against the arm of his throne. "The time for diplomacy has passed. These humans have made their choice, and now they shall face the consequences. Now, carry out my orders, or suffer the same fate as those wretched earthlings." Cowed by the Chancellor's fury, the fleet commander reluctantly relayed the devastating command, and the alien warships began to unleash a barrage of devastating firepower upon the defenseless planet below. As the skies over Earth erupted in blinding flashes of light, and the ground shook with the force of the bombardment, the people of the world watched in stunned silence. There were no panicked evacuations, no frantic calls for aid, only a grim, resolute acceptance of their fate. And yet, as the minutes ticked by, something deeply unsettling began to dawn on the Galactic Council's forces. The targeted cities, the hubs of human civilization, lay eerily silent and empty, devoid of any signs of life. No plumes of smoke, no desperate cries for help, just an unsettling stillness that stretched on and on. Confusion and uncertainty rippled through the alien armada, its commanders struggling to make sense of this baffling turn of events. Had the humans, in the face of certain annihilation, simply abandoned their homes and fled? But to where? And how could an entire populace vanish so swiftly and completely? Chancellor Xyloth, his face flushed with a mixture of triumph and bewilderment, ordered the fleet to continue its relentless assault, determined to crush any lingering pockets of resistance. But as the bombardment raged on, it became increasingly clear that there was no resistance to be found. The cities of Earth, once bustling with life, had been transformed into ghostly, empty shells, a testament to the unfathomable resilience and ingenuity of the human race. Aboard the Galactic Council's flagship, Xyloth paced the command deck, his brow furrowed with a growing sense of unease. This cannot be," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Where have they gone? Where are the humans?" The fleet commander, his expression etched with a mixture of awe and trepidation, approached the Chancellor, his steps hesitant. "Chancellor, we have scanned the planet thoroughly, but there is no sign of the human populace. It is as if they have vanished." Xyloth whirled on the commander, his eyes blazing with a barely contained fury. "Impossible. They cannot have simply disappeared into thin air. There must be a trace, a clue, something that will lead us to their hiding place." The commander swallowed hard, his resolve wavering under the Chancellor's intense gaze. We are still analyzing the data, but so far, all indications are that the cities are completely deserted. There are no energy signatures, no life signs, nothing to suggest the humans are still present on the surface." For a moment, Xyloth was silent, his mind racing as he grappled with this startling revelation. Then, slowly, a sinister smile began to spread across his features, a chilling realization dawning upon him. "They're hiding," he murmured, his voice tinged with a dark, triumphant edge. "The humans, in their defiance, have chosen to remove themselves from their own world, denying us the conquest we so rightfully deserve." He turned to the fleet commander, his expression hardening. "Order the ships to scour every inch of the planet's surface. Leave no stone unturned. I want them found, no matter how deep they may have buried themselves. We will not be denied our prize so easily." As the fleet dispersed, fanning out across the globe in a desperate search for the elusive humans, a growing sense of unease settled over the Galactic Council's forces. For the first time, they found themselves confronted with the true depth of human ingenuity and resilience, a realization that would soon shatter the very foundations of their perceived superiority. As the Galactic Council's warships continued their relentless bombardment of Earth's major cities, the puzzled commanders soon found themselves confronted with a startling realization. The targeted areas were completely devoid of human life. No panicked civilians fleeing the destruction, no desperate cries for help, just an eerie, unsettling silence. Chancellor Xyloth, his face contorted with a mixture of fury and bewilderment, paced the command deck of the flagship, his mind racing to comprehend the unfolding situation. "Where are they?" he growled, his fists clenched at his sides. "How can an entire civilization simply vanish into thin air?" The fleet commander, his expression etched with a growing sense of unease, approached the Chancellor cautiously. "Sir, we've scanned the planet thoroughly, but there are no signs of human life in the targeted areas. It's as if they've disappeared." Xyloth whirled on the commander, his eyes blazing with barely contained rage. "Disappeared? Impossible. They must be hiding, burrowing into the very bowels of their planet to escape our wrath." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "Well, we shall find them, no matter how deep they may have retreated. Dispatch every available asset. Leave no corner of this world unexplored until we uncover their hiding place." Nodding reluctantly, the commander relayed the orders, and the Galactic Council's forces fanned out across the globe, scouring every inch of the planet's surface in a desperate search for the elusive humans. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, and the bombardment continued unabated, the Galactic Council's grip on the situation began to slip. No matter how thoroughly they scanned the planet, no matter how ruthlessly they pursued their quarry, the humans remained stubbornly out of reach, leaving the invaders to confront the grim reality of their predicament. Stranded on a planet devoid of human life, the Galactic Council found itself facing a daunting challenge. Without the infrastructure and resources of the human civilization to sustain their occupation, the invaders were increasingly burdened by the sheer logistical demands of maintaining their vast armada. Supply lines stretched thin, and the Council's troops, unused to the harsh environmental conditions of Earth, began to succumb to illness and exhaustion. Morale plummeted, and tensions within the ranks erupted into open dissent as the members of the once mighty coalition turned on one another, their grand plans of conquest now reduced to a humiliating failure. Aboard the Galactic Council's flagship, Chancellor Xyloth paced the command deck, his brow furrowed with a growing sense of desperation. The reports from the field were bleak, painting a picture of an occupation in disarray, with no end to the human evasion in sight. "This cannot be happening," he muttered, his voice laced with a tinge of panic. We had them within our grasp. How could they have slipped through our fingers so easily? The fleet commander, his face etched with a mixture of fatigue and resignation, approached the Chancellor, his steps heavy. "Sir, I'm afraid we have no choice but to consider retreat. Our forces are being stretched to the breaking point, and without a viable way to locate the human populace, we risk being stranded on this planet indefinitely." Psylloth's eyes widened, and for a moment, the normally composed Chancellor seemed to lose his composure. "Retreat." He spat, the word dripping with venom. "Retreat. I will hear no such talk. We are the Galactic Council, the masters of the cosmos. We do not retreat, we conquer." The commander held his ground, his expression resolute. "With respect, Chancellor, this is no longer a matter of conquest. We are facing an existential crisis. Our very survival is at stake. If we do not withdraw soon, we may not have the strength left to make it back home." Psylloth opened his mouth to deliver a scathing retort, but the words caught in his throat as he caught a glimpse of the faces of his subordinates. Gone was the awe and reverence he had once commanded. In its place, he saw only thinly veiled fear and exhaustion. Slowly, the realization dawned on him. His grand vision of conquest had been reduced to a desperate struggle for survival. The humans, through their sheer ingenuity and resilience, had managed to turn the tables on the mighty Galactic Council, denying them their prize and leaving the invaders to confront the grim reality of their failure. With a resigned sigh, Psylloth nodded, his shoulders slumped in defeat. "Very well. Order the fleet to disengage and prepare for withdrawal. We have no choice but to concede this battle to the humans." As the order was relayed and the Galactic Council's warships began to power up their engines, a palpable sense of relief and disbelief rippled through the ranks. For so long, they had been conditioned to believe in the infallibility of the Council, its dominance over the galaxy absolute and unquestionable. But now, as they watched the blue-green orb of Earth recede in their viewports, a newfound respect and caution began to creep into their minds. The name Earth would henceforth be spoken with a mixture of awe and trepidation, a testament to the power of a species that had dared to defy the might of the Galactic Council and won. In the aftermath of the failed invasion, the leaders of Earth emerged from their hidden sanctuaries, their resilience and resourcefulness having thwarted the most powerful interstellar coalition. As they took stock of the devastation wrought by the Galactic Council's bombardment, a deep sense of resolve hardened within them. This was not the end, but merely the beginning. For the people of Earth had proven themselves to be more than just a primitive race, but a force to be reckoned with, a civilization that, when pushed to the brink, could rise up in triumph against even the most overwhelming odds. And as the alien ships retreated into the depths of space, the citizens of Earth knew that their story was far from over. The galaxy had taken notice of their defiance, and in the years to come, the name Earth would be spoken with a newfound respect, a testament to the power of a species that had dared to defy the might of the Galactic Council and won. As the alien warships carrying the defeated and demoralized forces of the Galactic Council departed Earth's orbit, the people of the planet emerged from their hidden sanctuaries, their eyes filled with a mixture of relief, pride, and a newfound sense of purpose. For so long, they had been viewed as a primitive, insignificant species, a blight upon the tapestry of the cosmos, unworthy of a place at the table of galactic power. But in the face of the Galactic Council's invasion, they had risen to the occasion, their resilience and resourcefulness proving to be the key to their salvation. In the aftermath of the battle, the world's leaders convened in emergency sessions, their discussions tinged with a palpable sense of triumph and apprehension. While they celebrated their victory over the would-be conquerors, they also recognized that the galaxy had taken notice of their defiance, and the consequences of their actions were still uncertain. "We have won this battle," said the United Nations Secretary General, his voice solemn yet resolute. "But the war is far from over. The Galactic Council will not soon forget our defiance, and we must be prepared for whatever retribution they may seek to inflict upon us." Around the table, the assembled dignitaries nodded, their expressions grave. They all understood the gravity of the situation, that their actions had irrevocably altered the delicate balance of power in the galaxy, and that the path ahead would be fraught with peril and uncertainty. And yet there was a palpable sense of determination in the air, a conviction that the people of Earth were more than capable of rising to the challenge. For they had proven, beyond all doubt, that they were no mere primitive upstarts, but a force to be reckoned with, a civilization that, when pushed to the brink, could outmaneuver and outwit even the mightiest of interstellar coalitions. As the discussions continued, a bold new vision began to take shape, one that would forever alter the course of human history. The leaders of Earth, inspired by the sheer audacity of their victory, decided that the time had come to take their rightful place among the stars, to forge their own destiny in the vast expanse of the galaxy. "We can no longer afford to remain isolated, content to let the Galactic Council dictate the terms of our existence," declared the President of the United States, her eyes blazing with determination. "It is time for us to assert our dominance, to show the galaxy that we are a force to be reckoned with." And so, with a renewed sense of purpose and an unwavering commitment to their cause, the people of Earth set about the task of transforming their world into a power that would command the respect and fear of the entire galaxy. In the months and years that followed, the human civilization underwent a remarkable transformation. Technological advancements that had once seemed the stuff of science fiction were now made reality, as the combined might of the world's brightest minds and the boundless determination of the human spirit pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Interstellar travel became commonplace, with colonies and outposts springing up across the galaxy, each one a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of their creators. Trade agreements were forged with alien civilizations, and cultural exchanges blossomed, as the once isolated people of Earth began to carve out their own place in the tapestry of the cosmos. And as the decades passed, the name Earth became synonymous with a new, formidable power, one that was not to be trifled with. The Galactic Council, once the undisputed masters of the galaxy, now found themselves forced to tread carefully, their every move scrutinized, and their every action weighed against the might of this upstart human civilization. In the halls of power on Earth, the leaders of the world watched with a mixture of pride and apprehension as their planet's influence continued to grow. They knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, that the Galactic Council would not simply accept their newfound status without a fight. But they also knew that they were no longer the same people who had once cowered in the face of the alien invaders. They were a civilization forged in the fires of adversity, tempered by their triumph over the Galactic Council, and they were ready to face whatever the galaxy might throw at them. And so, as the human ships continued to venture out into the unknown, their crews filled with a sense of purpose and a burning desire to explore the wonders of the universe, the people of Earth knew that their story was only just beginning. For they had proven, beyond all doubt, that they were more than just a primitive race, more than just a collection of squabbling nations. They were a force to be reckoned with, a civilization that had dared to defy the might of the Galactic Council and emerged victorious. And in the years to come, the galaxy would tremble at the mere mention of the name Earth, a testament to the power of a species that had risen from the ashes of adversity to claim its rightful place among the stars.